good. Now, push your outer heels into the ground just a little bit and see if you start to feel the outside of your hamstrings turn on a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Perfect. Now hold on to that position I'm sorry, hold on to that tension and then take your feet from that position and slowly flatten them on the ground without losing the outer hamstring tension. Find 3 points of contact where you can feel your whole heel, the ball of the pinky toe, and the ball of the big toe. Can you feel that?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Now, without losing the tension of the outside heel, I want you to push the inside of the heel and the ball of the big toe into the ground and see if you feel a little bit of the inside of your hamstrings turning on. So it's kind of closer to the inside of your pelvis. Perfect.
Yeah.
So right where your sit bones are, right where the glutes meet the hamstrings, you should feel a little bit of what we would call upper hamstring tension here. You feel that on both sides?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. The upper hamstrings help us pull the pelvis into a neutral position, which helps you stack. What that's going to do is now when you're doing this breath work, I'm going to give you cues for, you're naturally going to start to feel the diaphragm working with the pelvic floor, or we will get you to a point where you do so. Okay. What our goal here is to really relax your inhales and your exhales. Okay. What I mean by that is you should not feel very much airflow moving on your inhales. Your inhales are always going to be all nasal. So you're going to keep your tongue on the roof of your mouth and you're going to slowly inhale through your nose and you're barely going to feel air moving. Okay. And then when you go into an exhale, you're going to let the air fall out and just sigh like you're relaxing. So you're going to just let air fall out like that. Now I want you to do it very slowly because we're going to try to extend the length of your exhales. So you're going to inhale through your nose very slowly. You're going to exhale and hopefully get your exhales out to about 8, 10, or even maybe 12 seconds when we're done with this. What that's going to do is the extension of the exhales is going to allow all the airflow to move out of your lungs. And because the diaphragm is moving so high, the pelvic floor is going to follow, and you're going to naturally feel your belly button just sinking in towards your spine. Okay. And we're going to go from there. Okay. I'm just going to start you. Inhale through your nose very slowly, just enough to feel satiated, but don't overly inhale. Feel your rib cage kind of fill up like a balloon. And then drop the tongue off the roof of the mouth to exhale through your mouth and just slowly let the air fall out. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, all the way to at least 8. At the end of the exhale, pause for 1 second and then repeat the process. Good. Every time you exhale, keep the pattern going. Every time you exhale, I want you to think about your body and where your body is holding tension, maybe in your upper shoulders, maybe in your lower back, maybe in your lower back and your midsection, anywhere it's holding tension, we're going to relax and release that. Every point of contact in the ground, we're going to let it get really, really heavy. Okay. So the back of your pelvis right now, the PSIS, that's going to get really heavy. So you're going to think about every exhale is like you're a candle melting into the floor. Every inch of your spine, upper back, mid back, low back's relaxing, shoulders are relaxing. Let your head get heavy into the ground. And over time, you should start to feel some of the tension that we're holding dissipate. And your exhales should start to get longer and longer because as you just slow things down, the air comes out, flows out slower. We don't need to exhale more air. We just need to exhale slower. The goal is slow, soft inhales, long, deep exhales with a slight, at this point, just a 1 second pause at the end. Keep going. What you should start to feel at the end of your exhales, especially with that pause and the extension slowly getting longer with your exhales, is you should feel that your abdomen is naturally sinking in, almost like you're doing a vacuum, but you're not thinking about vacuuming your stomach. It's doing it because the pressure change because of your exhales. We're going to start to feel a little bit of deep core tension, maybe a 1 out of 10. I want you to start to feel your way through that, be aware of that, and just try to hold on to that a little bit more while you're breathing. So the inhale is very soft and it fills the rib cage, and the exhale lets all of that air out and you feel your abdomen naturally sink in. You hold for 1 second, maybe even 2 seconds now as you continue to progress, and we start to feel a little bit more of that lower abdominal tension, which is your deep abs, not your six pack. So that should your belly button area should still be soft, but you almost feel that corset feeling where all the abdominals are starting to work together as everything sinks in. Good. With that lower abdominal tension that you're feeling, if we're able to hold on to that, what you're going to start to notice is that balloon filling feeling, that 360 degrees of expansion from your inhales starts to become more effective and more impactful around the rib cage. So you're going to start to feel the rib cage expanding more, filling up with air. And then as the exhale falls out, you'll feel yourself getting even more heavy, backside of your rib cage, head, shoulders relaxing, hips getting heavier, all the above. Perfect. Keep it going. We're going to keep this pattern going, and I'm going to continue to give little things to adjust and be aware of as you're going. Good. Now, as you get your exhales longer, I want you to keep thinking in your head, counting 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. Extend them out to at least 10 seconds now. And at the end of your exhale, I want you to hold for at least 2 to 3 seconds and feel how your body responds to that. Does it feel like it's a little bit stressed from holding the breath? Does it feel like it's fighting you a little bit? We want to be as calm and sit with as much safety as we can in those situations. And the way that you can help your body overcome that is just to remind yourself that you are safe in your mind, while also just keeping your following inhale as slowly as possible. So your body's going to have a reflex where it wants you to inhale really fast after holding your breath, 2 to 3 seconds at the end of an exhale. But you're going to say, hey, we're good. And you're going to inhale just as slowly as you did when we first started the drill. So we're slowly extending exhales to 10, feeling that lower abdominal tension, holding the exhale for 2 to 3 seconds, and then slowly inhale to overcome the reflex to breathe faster. Keep it going. Good. Let it fall out. A little bit of ab tension, a little hold, and then slowly. Very good. Very good. Good. Keep it up. Don't change a thing. So now what you're starting to feel is, if we've gotten some tension to release, we've got a good breathing pattern going, we're slowing things down, you should start to feel that the pelvic floor and the diaphragm, as you're inhaling and exhaling, are slowly starting to move together. And a way that we can start to pinpoint that and actually make it a little bit more efficient is by thinking about your exhale starting at the pelvic floor and acting like a zipper as you're exhaling the air out. Obviously, all the air is in the lungs, but our whole body is a pressure system. So if I have a full breath in and I start my exhale, I'm going to imagine an imaginary zipper going from the pelvic floor. And as I exhale, the pressure slowly pushes from the pelvic floor all the way up my abdomen as my abs sink in. And then I'm going to imagine that that zipper is the corset of the abdominals that's got tighter. And that's how I hold on to that. So I'm going to hold that zipper tension. And I'm just going to feel my whole body expand as I do that next inhale. Think about that zipper. And then when you inhale, you're not necessarily trying to clamp everything down. We're not trying to squeeze like a crunch or a sit up. We're just trying to hold that 1 or 2 out of 10 of tension that we felt from the zipper kind of zipping things up. And now we feel the expansion. You might even start to feel that because the zipper is tightened up now, your inhales are not just in your chest, but you're feeling pressure changes in your lower back, in your hips. You feel the airflow or the pressure flow coming down there as well, because the soft tissue on the front of your abdomen is holding a little bit more tension than usual. And this is a great way to loosen up the back, open things up a little bit. Same with the pelvis. Your inhales and exhales will also open up the pelvis because of the pressure change. All right, so you've done a really good job of this. We've gotten pretty much pinpointed in this. The only thing I'm going to change now to offer you a little bit more abdominal tension and awareness of the zipper we were talking about is pursing your lips like you're blowing through a straw. Okay, so everything else is the exact same, but now I want you to kind of pressurize the exhales a little bit and see if we can't turn on a little bit more natural abdominal tension. See if you can't feel the obliques and the transverse abdominis kick on. And then your subsequent inhale, because of that new pressure in the corset area of the abs, you're going to feel more expansion on the inhales. Okay. So blow it out, feel the ab tension. And then the soft inhale expands the whole trunk, shoulders all the way down to pelvis. We've created a cylinder, just like a Coke can. That's what your trunk is if we can get some good natural abdominal tension. And it's a great way to create mobility, but also to naturally brace your core anytime you're doing strength training. A long, slow exhale through a straw can easily set you up for any core drill, any mobility drill, any squat, any press, all of the above. Doing awesome. Keep it up. All right. So without moving at all, give me a little bit of feedback about how you're feeling. How has everything resonated? Are you feeling what I'm saying? Is anything not connecting? Let me know what you're thinking.
I feel like I'm at yoga.
That's perfect. I like it. I hope that these ideas are connecting to yoga a little bit, maybe in a way that'll allow you a different way to breathe while you're in yoga, because a lot of times those instructors will tell you to belly breathe, which keeps the soft tissue that we're describing bringing tension to. It keeps it softer. So you're not afforded the same mobility and expansion and stress release as a belly breath would give you. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So do you feel a little bit different as far as like your ability to kind of connect to your abs?
Yeah, I'm like being more, I guess, conscious of them.
Perfect. Would you say that the way that I described what you should be feeling was fairly accurate, or does it feel a little different for you?
Yeah, I would say maybe slightly different.
How so? Not a
I'm
pop quiz, just curious.
I'm hoping I'm doing it right, I guess.
Right. And this is one of those things, just like, I mean, you got to consider how many times you've done all the exercises in your repertoire over the last 10, 15, 20 years, right? That just like that, this is the skill that it builds self-awareness, and just like strength training does, and you have to practice it and get a lot of reps in. So when you're doing some breath work, if you want to down regulate your nervous system just to wind down in the evenings, or you want to create some more mobility in your system, like a lot of the mobility drills that I've given you on your mobility days and those sessions that are a little bit less strength focused, this is the exact breathing style that will afford you more core tension, afford you more loosening up of the shoulders and the hips through some of those rolls and some of those stretches. So this type of breathing can really help you do all the above. When you were getting to the end of your exhales and you were breathing through a straw, could you feel your deep abdominal starting to kick in?
Yeah. Like I feel
Perfect.
like it's like going towards my back.
Yeah. So you mean the airflow? Like once you started to inhale, you felt the air going towards your back?
Yeah.
Perfect. How did you feel when you were doing your subsequent inhales? Did you feel as though it was hard to keep that core tension, or once you found that it was kind of easy to keep it at like a 2 out of 10?
I feel like my stomach and my chest wants to like expand at the same time.
That is exactly what we want. And that's perfect. I'm very glad you said that. I know I was saying basically don't breathe into the belly, and we want to basically breathe into the rib cage. But if you're doing it the right way with your deep core, doing some of the activation, you are going to get a rise behind the belly button, and then it's going to go into the rib cage. So it honestly ends up kind of being a 1-2 punch where they're both doing it at the same time if you're doing it properly, because it's a full cylinder, right? We got the Coke can. We want balanced expansion. But a lot of times in order to find that, I got to give the cues of breathe into the rib cage, try not to fill the belly button, and then you start to do it correctly. So you nailed it. That's exactly what we want. And that's when you start to feel airflow into the pelvis and airflow into the lower back as well. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
How did your body feel when you tried to hold your exhales?
Normal.
No big deal, right? No stress at
No.
all?
Mm-mm.
Perfect. That's very good. That usually is a sign that if you can't do it, you have, at the time or chronically a low CO2 tolerance. So your body's a little bit higher stress and you have a higher respiratory rate on a higher basis, or on a more regular basis, I mean. And if you don't have that, then you're probably ready to extend those exhales even more. So anytime you're doing a strength training session where you're doing mobility, you can probably easily hold your exhales for 2 to 3 seconds, no problem. And that's also going to give you more core tension. If you're doing like down regulation breathing and you want to kind of wind down at the end of the day, holding your exhales for upwards of 5 to maybe even 6 or 7 seconds, depending on how fast you're counting, that should test you a little bit, because we want to work with those reflexes. We want to kind of feel that a little bit, because the more you sit with those reflexes of almost a little bit of a mini stress response of your body wanting to pull air in, the more you sit with those, the more stress resilient you're going to become in the future. So the more it's going to make it easier for you to calm down every time you return to your breath. Does that make sense?
Yeah,